We need to talk about the shooting at Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church and what we know so far. Because on Sunday, a 36-year-old Hispanic woman entered this Houston megachurch at around 2 p.m. as a Spanish language service was beginning. And very notably here, Lakewood is a very highly attended church, with around 45,000 attending services weekly, which makes it the third largest megachurch in the country. And according to the police, this woman wore a trench coat, carried a backpack, and had her 7-year-old son at her side while armed with 2 rifles. With a search warrant affidavit also showing that the woman claimed to have a bomb and was carrying a yellow in-color rope and substances consistent with the manufacture of explosive devices, which appear to be a detonation cord. The law enforcement later said that they didn't find any explosives at the scene. And with us, you had investigators saying the woman and her son entered the church after she pointed an AR-15 at an unarmed security guard and forced her way in. She then quickly began to open fire inside a hallway, but 2 off-duty officers working security at the church responded immediately. And those 2 being identified as Houston Police Officer Christopher Moreno and Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission Agent Adrian Herrera. Those officers exchanged gunfire and the woman was shot and killed. Though also the woman's son was also shot in the head during the exchange and remains in the hospital in critical condition as of recording. With that, the police saying right now it's unclear who shot the child. Beyond that, another 57-year-old man was shot in the hip and hospitalized, but officials have said he has since been discharged. And a very key thing here is that during a press conference yesterday, Houston Police Commander Chris Hassig said that all of the gunfire happened in the church hallway, with the 2 officers preventing it from spilling over into the main sanctuary where worshipers were sent scrambling for cover and safety after hearing gunshots, which is why you had law enforcement officials applauding these 2 men, saying they are heroes who helped prevent a mass shooting. And Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission Chairman Kevin Lilly saying,
these 2 officers held their ground. They held their ground in the face of rifle fire at point blank range. And they continued to fire until the perpetrator was neutralized. And they did not yield. They were a wall that existed between worshipers and terror, between freedom of religion and murder.
Now, with this, as far as what we know about the shooter, officials have not yet officially identified a motive. We know at yesterday's presser, Hassig provided some early information law enforcement had discovered, specifically talking about the AR-15 the shooter used and saying,
there was a sticker on the buttstock of the rifle that stated Palestine. A sticker simply stated Palestine on the buttstock. We have uncovered some items. We do have some anti-Semitic writings that we have uncovered during this process. But like I said, we are 24 hours into it. It is very new. We are getting new information as the hours change. And so we are going to be delving into that more.
Hassig also went on to say that the officials believe the attacker acted alone and wasn't part of a bigger group, but then continued.
And we do want to state that through our investigation, I mentioned anti-Semitic writing. We do believe that there was a familial dispute that has taken place between her ex-husband and her ex-husband's family, and some of those individuals are Jewish. So we believe that might possibly be where all of this stems from.
And a big thing here with this whole story, a woman who the media has identified as the shooter's ex-mother-in-law wrote a Facebook post yesterday where she claimed that her former daughter-in-law raged against Israel and Jews in a pro-Palestinian rant. But despite that, the ex-mother-in-law, who CNN reported is a rabbi, said, quote, this has nothing to do with Judaism or Islam. Though as far as why this woman targeted an evangelical megachurch, that remains unclear. Now, it's been reported that court records show the shooter was going through a bitter divorce and a custody battle. And during that time, her ex-mother-in-law reached out to staff at Lakewood for pastoral advice. Though notably, the records don't say which staff she contacted. And a spokesperson for the church said he didn't believe members or leaders of the church knew the attacker. Though all of this, as others have noted, that Osteen, like many other evangelical leaders, has expressed solidarity with Israel and held events there. But again, this is law enforcement officials say that the matter is currently not being investigated as a hate crime, with them noting that there are a lot of other things at play here and they're looking into it. This, including a history of mental illness that was documented not just by family members, but by police as well. With court filings reportedly showing that the shooter's former mother-in-law sought a conservatorship of her son, alleging that this woman was mentally ill and that the boy was being neglected and abused. And she echoed some of those claims in her Facebook post, claiming that the shooter had previously been treated for schizophrenia. The shooter also had a checkered past with numerous arrests, with the authorities saying that the attacker had multiple aliases, including both male and female names. And with that, we saw a number of conservative outlets and commentators like Fox News and Libs of TikTok initially saying the shooter was trans, with Libs of TikTok repeatedly spreading this claim and a bunch of others on the right running with that narrative. This including reply guy Elon Musk, who suggested with zero evidence that hormones for gender-affirming care could be a major causal factor in violence. But we also also ended up seeing Fox News eventually walk back their claims after police said not only did the shooter identify as female, but noting that she was in fact the biological mother of her 7-year-old. And this after combing through past police reports and conducting numerous interviews with people that she knew. And according to the Associated Press, county records showed that under her various aliases, the woman was charged in 6 criminal cases from 2005 to 2011. And those charges ranged from forging a $100 bill to stealing socks, hats, and makeup to assault for kicking a detention officer, which landed her in jail for 180 days. And as a part of her history with mental illness, authorities said that the shooter was placed under emergency detention in 2016, though they didn't give more information. But more recently and most significantly, in 2022, she was arrested on misdemeanor weapons charges. And massively important here, during yesterday's presser, a reporter noted in a question to officials that records show that this woman had actually had weapons taken away from her in 2022. And then even beyond that, the FBI had literally questioned her about her efforts to purchase a weapon last year. But when the reporter asked how the shooter was able to get a hold of those weapons, officials just said they were still investigating. But they also said that it appeared she had purchased the AR-15 she used legally just months ago in December. And then when asked if the police had opportunities to intervene sooner, Houston Police Chief Troy Finner tried to avoid direct responsibility.
She did have a history, if you want to say that, but there are millions upon top of millions of people who have a history. And to your question and answering it, the response is that we all need to continue to work together.
But numerous people have literally said that they did exactly that, and law enforcement didn't do shit. With yesterday, 6 different neighbors of the shooter telling reporters that she had threatened and harassed them and displayed firearms, making them fear going outside of their homes. And in July of 2022, one neighbor said she filed a police complaint against the shooter for allegedly threatening her with a handgun. In fact, the situation got so bad that 5 months ago, the neighbors got together to spend a whole day where they talked to local elected officials, the police, the sheriff's office, and Houston's legal department. But still, nothing was done, and she was still allowed to own and purchase firearms after all of that. With many, including the attacker's ex-mother-in-law, arguing that Texas's lax gun regulations and lack of red flag laws are to blame. But ultimately, that is where we are with this. And again, remember, we're getting more updates. It's a developing situation. And if and when more information comes out, we'll be there.